Hello! It's Raimi, and today we are doing our October wrap-up and November TBR. And I tried to make it a little like end of October, spooky, like there's candles and pumpkins, like it's not that spooky, but you know what I mean. Like I tried to make it a vibe. So today I wanted to go over the 5 books that I read in October, and I feel like it wasn't a huge reading month for me, but the books that I did read were really good. So I'm excited to share these books with you. So let's get into it. To start October on a high note, I read Carmilla by J. Sheridan Le Fanu. J. Sheridan Le Fanu. Carmilla is one of the original vampire stories written before Dracula, and it's about a girl and her family who live in this kind of secluded town, and this girl happens upon them and they take her in, and weird stuff starts happening once they take in this girl Carmilla. So yeah, that's kind of where the story starts, where a lot of the plot begins, and overall I would say it was a very good story. It was definitely a little anticlimactic, but I really liked seeing where some of the original ideas for vampires, how to get rid of vampires, vampire abilities, and things like that kind of originated in this story. I really loved that. And surprisingly, the writing was very easy to read, even though this was written back in like 18 something. Carmilla was written in 1872. So it was actually quite easy to read. I didn't have much of a hard time comprehending or reading through the story at all. And I found it went pretty fast and was easy to get through. So yeah, I think overall I gave Carmilla a 3 out of 5 only because I did feel like the plot was anticlimactic and like Carmilla herself didn't have a ton of depth, but I enjoyed reading the story. I'm glad I read it. It was a great starter to October and kind of the spooky vibes, and yeah, I'm very glad I read the book. Next, I read Hush by Dylan Farrow, and this is the first book of a duology that Dylan wrote, and this was also one of my blind date with a book books, and I loved this book. Oh my gosh, this was such a good story. The main character, Shay, I absolutely loved her character. She was so strong and deep and kind and caring and a little bit funny in some instances, and I just absolutely loved her character. I thought that this book was beautifully written. I loved the world that it was set in. The way that the author used descriptors and described the world and did world building was in a way where it didn't feel like it was going on and on and on. Like it felt important and pertinent to the story. And I just overall, this whole book, I gave a 5 out of 5. I really enjoyed this book, and I'm so thankful that the Etsy seller that sent it to me picked this book for me. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. 5 out of 5. I would highly recommend. Next, I read Serpent and Dove, which is the first book of a series. I'm not sure. I think this might be a 3-book series, but this was also one of my blind date with a book books, and I loved this book. I will say the first maybe like 90 pages, 100 pages was a little bit tough for me to get into, but overall I loved this book. I fell in love with the characters, and I fell in love with the idea of the witch marrying the witch hunter. I thought that was such a fun little plot point. And this story was so interesting. It was funny, and it was engaging, and it was heartbreaking, and it was all the things that you want out of a book. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I already ordered Blood and Honey because I want to read the second one. I'm so glad that I got to read it during this October season. It definitely gave off witchy vibes and spooky season vibes. Not to like your typical like Halloween, but it just kind of gave that overall like burning witches at the stake, like witches and magic and all of that kind of thing, everything that you would want in a witchy book. This has. So I gave this book a 4 out of 5. And then the one and only book that I read on my October TBR, The Ex-Hex. I fully and completely deviated from the TBR this month. There's literally one book that I read that I put on my TBR, and that is The Ex-Hex. I liked this book. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. My biggest qualm with this book is that it was in third person point of view, which is my least favorite. But this book was hilarious. I did enjoy the characters. I thought Vivi was a crack up. I thought Rise was a crack up. I did enjoy this book, hence why I gave it a 4 out of 5. I thought the story was so cute, and I loved the idea of a witchy rom-com. Like, I thought it was done super well. My only beef is that I wish it was in first person point of view. I would have loved like a dual POV from Vivi and Rise, and I kind of did that, but in third person. But yeah, I just didn't love it. But yeah, so I would definitely recommend this as an October/fall read. I still think that this could be read in the month of November. I did pick up The Kiss Curse, which is the sequel to The Ex-Hex, and I DNF'd it and I could not finish it. I was done with the third person. I just was needing to move on to another story. It is definitely put aside for either later in November or sometime next year. Maybe I will read The Kiss Curse and kind of complete the story. And then the last full book that I read for October is Veil, which is the sequel to Hush. Here's the thing. I enjoyed this book as well, but definitely not as much as the first one, unfortunately. On Goodreads, I rated it a 4 out of 5 because I didn't think it was quite a 3, but I don't think it's quite a 4 either. I probably would rate it at maybe a 3.5, 3.75. I think it kind of dragged on a little bit, where there's definitely some things that could have been trimmed. But yeah, I think overall I enjoyed the story, and I still love Dylan Farrow's writing. I think she has an incredible writing style that's very easy to read. It wasn't hard to get through or hard to read. I just think that there could have been a lot of stuff that was trimmed from it. Maybe it could have been a novella like follow-up instead of a full novel. There was a change of like scenery, I guess, to a more industrial place, and yeah, I didn't love that. I think part of what I really loved about the first book, Hush, was the setting. High House is one of the settings in the first book, and just the opulence and the beautiful architecture and the over-the-top of it. I think I really enjoyed the way that Dylan described that, and some of that was kind of lost in the industrial setting that this second book took place in. Yeah, so I just think that this one, while I'm glad that I read it because I liked seeing how the story concluded, I think it definitely could have been trimmed down. Let's move on to the November TBR, and we will see in November if we actually stick to anything on my TBR, because we only got one book off the TBR in October, but it's fine, it's fine. Let's check out the November TBR that I put together. So I do have most of the books on my bookshelf, but I didn't want to dismantle my bookshelf for the video, so I probably will just be popping the books up on the screen just because, yeah, I just didn't want to take apart my bookshelf tonight. I just was not in the mood. So to start out, I want to continue reading the Harry Potter series since I have never read it before. So I am on Harry Potter 3 currently, and yes, I would like to finish that in the month of November. I have heard that the Harry Potters just get better as you progress through the series, so I just want to keep progressing in the Harry Potter universe. Also, I recently purchased ACOTAR, and I would like to see what the hype is about. I would like to jump on the hype train. I would like to know why everybody is in love with this book. So I have the first book of the ACOTAR series and I would like to read it this November, see if I would like to fully dive in and be part of that community. Who knows? So ACOTAR is on my November TBR. Blood and Honey, which in my October reads, I read the first book, Serpent and Dove, so I would like to read the second, Blood and Honey. I really love Serpent and Dove, so I'm excited to read the second book in the series and see how it goes. And I'm excited because I bought it in hardback and I can't wait for it to come in the mail. I'm so jonesing and ready to read it. So yes, I would also like to read The Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson. I read her Dance of Thieves duology and fell in love with her writing, the universe that she has created, and Kiss of Deception and the series that follows is in the same universe, the same sphere as Dance of Thieves and Vow of Thieves. And she also has another book coming out, Morgan, or I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it, but she has that book coming out this November, I think. So that might also be added to the list. I'm not sure, but I really want to get started on her other series. So yeah, I'm just excited to read more of Mary E. Pearson's books. I absolutely love her writing. I love the universe that she created. And yes, I'm excited to read another one of her books. And if I like The Kiss of Deception, there's a few more in that series that I can read as well. I also recently bought Kingdom of the Wicked. It is on its way to me right now, and I'm so excited because I've heard so many good things about this book. I read through the synopsis and it sounds so good, like something I would absolutely love. And me and my best friend decided that I was gonna buy it, and if she loves it, she's borrowing it as well. So definitely have to get to that in November. And then a couple maybes on the list are books that I got in my last book haul with my dad. So Neon Gods and Good Omens are also a couple options on the November TBR. I think they would be really fun reads. I'm really looking forward to them. And then also I went to a little library randomly. I was driving home from coffee with a friend and I picked up an ARC copy of Once Upon a Broken Heart, which I will grab out of the bookshelf because it is so cool and it's just right here. So yeah, I got an ARC copy of this book in a little library and it was so exciting. I posted it on TikTok because I was just so excited. I definitely would like to put this on the November TBR because I've heard amazing things about this book, and I've also never read a Stephanie Garber book, so I'm curious to see what the hype is about, and I just think it's so fun that I happened upon an ARC copy. That is all for my November TBR. It is, again, like last month, a little ambitious. Probably I'm being a little overzealous, but that's okay because that just means that we have so many books that we love and are excited about and want to read that we just have a ton of options, and we can't be mad about that. You know what I mean? So yes, I'm going to end the video with that. I hope you guys had a wonderful October and a safe and exciting Halloween. Let me know what books you guys plan on reading in the month of November or what books you read in the month of October. I would be so curious to know what you guys are reading, and I will talk to you guys in my next video. Happy reading. Bye.